Is he in the vehicle?
Yeah. I'm at Grace Church Road. I went to Waynesboro to bring this man down to this address. And now he's trying to force his way into a house. I'm afraid to move my vehicle. Just fighting in there.
Is it inside the house now?
Yeah,
You have your doors locked?
it's open. I'm in a van.
You need to make yourself safe, okay? Even if you've got to drive away from there to get away from him and close that and lock that door. Do that for me now, please.
Okay, wait a minute.
I love chat. Steph, she's like, are we having an emergency live about the emergency here without me? I sent you the link if you want to join us on the side there, Steph. It's not going to be a long live, but I said that last time, but it's not. And then Too Much Mom says, hi, everybody. 2 emergencies in one day.
Probably more than that.
Yeah, and then Steph is saying, Sunny's co-host today is the best co-host she ever had. Oh, that was funny. And I love your comment back to her, Steph. It's mainly to correct the factual errors from whoever Sunny's guest was. You gave me a belly laugh there. Anyways, you guys, thank you for joining us again. So did somebody send you those, or did you get them yourself? Because I never got mine that I requested.
Yeah, no, someone sent them to me.
Yeah, so thank to that.
And
person
then I saw that, and then I've seen them online now since then. So I think they're, I think they've been out there. But I think Kudis shared them as well in our group chat.
Yeah, well, they're not us, are they? Are you Hudis? Huh? No, I'm just kidding. No, thank you guys very much.
I numbered them myself just because I want to make sure I get them in the right order when I send them to you.
Yeah, I seen that, which I always appreciate, because whenever you're downloading something, it always goes, you do one, but it ends up being the last one. And that, so Hudis. Hey, Hudis, I gave you credit in the earlier video for for that post, or for Angela's post. Hudis knows we love her, of course. Yeah. Hudis has been following this case from the start, and she's a wealth of information herself. Always appreciate, like I said, the knowledge that a lot of people have from the early zones of this case, to be honest with you.
I know.
Because, I mean,
it's funny, every once in a while, someone will share a screenshot or something from the early days of the case. And there have been a few times someone has sent one to me, not knowing, of course, how much I adore her, but it doesn't say Hudis, but it has a different name that Hudis used to go by.
Right.
And I'll be like, oh, I know who that is. But people like that who are around in the early days of this case are a wealth of knowledge and invaluable. So we of course appreciate Hudis.
Yeah. I actually struggled. Honestly, I just had to think back, and I was like, oh, okay, now it's coming back. Because I actually struggled when she went. It's kind of like Peace Not Silenced is, what is he now? Never Silent?
Never Silent.
Yeah. Never Silent. And, Hudis, like I said, she had her other name that started with J there. And so that's the name that I always remember. When you get to know somebody and they use a certain name and then they change it up on you and stuff like that. It's hard for
like
me
I
to
feel like Stefa needs to change her name to Supporting Stefa.
supporting stuff. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted to say it. So I always called it Jenga. No matter how she says it, no matter how Huda says it, I always said Jenga. I just think of the game in my head, with the wood sticks and stuff like that. But anyways, you guys. So yeah, like, I mean, I honestly haven't read the documents myself because again, a lot of times I just like to, I've seen them, Adam sent them. Did you read them? No?
Nope.
See, we just like to do it organically, to be honest with you. I enjoy that more because just as you're hearing it, usually we're hearing it too.
It's funny because literally, right when you messaged me that, you were like, hey, you want to do a quick live? I was literally sitting there. I worked today and then I got to my parents' house tonight because I'm watching my niece tomorrow. And I was like, oh, I've done 2 videos and a short today. I was like, but you know what? Maybe I'll do a video and I'll just read the document. So I hadn't read it yet.
That's what I was about to do. Yeah.
And like I literally opened Messenger because usually before I start anything, I'll open Messenger just to see if there's been someone sent me anything. And I was like, oh, no need.
Yeah.
This works better.
Honestly, Adam, I literally had these documents all prepared. I was talking to Callie Girl for a little bit. Love you, Callie Girl. And I was literally had them all lined up, ready to go, so that when I screen shared my, like when I record, I record from Wondershare now. And so I had the thing all ready to go. And then I was talking to Callie. So I was like, I'll get to this in a minute. And so I was all ready to go too. And I was like, and then you answered me back and I was just like, okay, sweet. Now we can just go live and read them. So anyways, you guys.
You can clip it down and put it out as a video later of just us reading them.
This is true. Absolutely.
So could I guess.
Yeah. So, you know what? Let's get started, you guys. Yep. And then we'll, like I said, we'll just talk about it like we always do and stuff like that. And we'll see what each page says. I'll read the first one, then Adam, and rotate like that. So let's get into it. And thank you guys for joining us tonight, of course. And thanks, Stefa, earlier for, here, let me just take this off the screen so it's a little bit not distracting. And thanks, Stefa, for joining earlier. And the emergency, I thought it was going to be an emergency hair meeting, Adam, but right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to take that off the screen though, just to see it better. I'm not sure. All of a sudden this comment comes up and I'm like, wait, I didn't touch anything. Must be Adam. Right. Yeah. I love you, girl. Okay.
Definitely. That's what he said.
That's what he said. Okay, so obviously the state of Indiana, County of Carroll versus Richard M. Allen. And let's see here. So emergency motion to modify safekeeping. And again, me and Adam haven't read these, so we're just reading them now together. So it comes now the defendant, Richard M. Allen, by and through his attorney, Bradley Rozzi, or however you say it, and respectfully request that this court modify the court order safekeeping order entered on November 3rd, 2022 in this cause. In support of said motion, Attorney Rozzi states as the follows. 1, on or about October 28, 2022, Mr. Allen was charged with 2 counts of red drum. I'm just going to say red drum now, to be honest with you. Mr. Allen's bond was set in the amount of $20 million. And you know what? Can I just say this, not to be braggadocious, but I'm going to be braggadocious. We actually had a guest in here that actually, this channel actually knew about that. It was the first one because we actually had a guest in here that was really good and gave us that information like that day. Most people had no clue about that. So only because I'm reading it now. Thank you to that person that gave us that information right away. Because like I said, most people had no clue until it finally eventually had came out. But anyways, on November 3rd, 2022, prior to the counsel being assigned to Mr. Allen, the Carroll County Sheriff, via formal motion filed by his request by the Sheriff of Carroll County, Indiana, to transfer inmate from the custody of the Sheriff to the custody of the Indiana Department of Corrections for safekeeping. 3, on the same day, November 3rd, 2022, the Honorable Benjamin Diner, Judge of the Carroll County Circuit Court executed a court order granting the sheriff's request and further ordered that the Carroll County Sheriff's to transfer Mr. Allen to a facility within the Indiana Department of Corrections as designated by the Commissioner of the Department of Corrections suitable for Mr. Allen's safekeeping. All decisions regarding Mr. Allen's detention circumstances were made prior to counsel being assigned to Mr. Allen to speak on his behalf. No formal hearing regarding the sheriff's safekeeping request have been conducted as of the date and the filing of this motion. 4, Mr. Allen is currently incarcerated in the Westville Correctional Facility where he has been detained since November of 2022. And then Adam one second, Adam, sorry. I had it up there. There we go. Okay.
Number 5, the Westville Correctional Facility is a maximum security prison operated by the Indiana Department of Corrections, wherein thousands of individuals convicted of the most serious crimes, such as unaliving, SA, robbery, and CSAM, pedo activity, are confined as a result of their convictions. To the best of the council's knowledge, Westville Correctional Facility does not routinely house offenders awaiting trial who are presumed innocent, as the presumption should be with Mr. Allen. It is further noteworthy that Mr. Allen has been continuously assigned to a separate maximum security segregation unit within the Westville Correctional Facility and wherein the most dangerous offenders are held. Council has investigated and confirmed with prison officials that said unit routinely houses individuals serving sentences of life without parole and others who have committed some of the most heinous crimes known to our society or have been transferred to this unit after committing further crimes within the Department of Corrections. Okay, pause. But so heinous as in the unaliving of Abby and Libby, allegedly? Sounds like someone might be right where they belong. Council was informed by the prison employees that said employees were not aware of any other circumstance wherein a human facing a trial under circumstances such as these has been housed in said facility. Finally, Council has discovered that Westville Correctional Facility has been the center of much attention in the recent past in matters revolving unequal and inhumane treatment of offenders. 7. The requirement of equal protection dictates, as appealees have agree that pretrial detainees may be treated less favorably than convicted persons, unless the difference in treatment is justified by a legitimate government interest. Brief of appealees at 43, the Second Circuit indicated in court case, the demands of equal protection of the laws and of due process prevent unjustifiable confinement of detainees under worse conditions than convicted prisoners. See different
cases,
et cetera, and case numbers. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see here. Counsel recently visited the prison and was denied of his request to inspect his client's cell block and living circumstances. Despite this, counsel has reason to believe that Mr. Allen has been required to endure the following conditions over the course of his 5+ months detainment at the facility. A, Mr. Allen has been entombed. Is that how you say it? Has been entombed in a cell. I think that's how you say it. In a cell as small as 6 feet inches wide by 10 feet length, a space no larger than that of a dog kennel. Mr. Allen is sleeping on a pad on a concrete floor. Mr. Allen is afforded showers.
More than only, we have. Sorry.
Yeah, right. You know, but mind you, always keeping.
I know.
And I know.
I'm sorry. I'll be quiet.
No. Mr. Allen afforded showers only 1 to 2 times per week. Mr. Allen is required to wear the same clothes, including underwear, for days on end, all of which are soiled, stained, and tattered. What were you going to say, Adam?
Oh, I just gagged a little bit. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I'm just going to go quickly. Well, I mean, we'll get back into this, but CDs was like saying, right, because obviously he's on, unaliving watch, in case he wants to inflict to himself. Hence the sleeping pad, I guess, on the concrete floor. I mean, if he is guilty, obviously a dog kennel, I mean, 6 feet. Okay, so that's the length of my husband, and then 10 feet in length. So 6 feet high, 10
Yeah, I'm
feet in
6 foot
length.
tall.
Yeah, I know. I always forget that you are actually. Anyways, so Mr. Allen, who is a constitutionally innocent man and maintains his factual innocence as well, has not been afforded any opportunity to visit his wife or other family members during the last 5 months of incarceration, during which time he has been subjected to conditions akin to those of a prisoner of war. Mr. Allen is allowed only an electronic tablet through which he can make calls to family members, all of which is monitored by prison officials, with the cost of all phone calls being borne by Rick and his family. Mr. Allen is routinely supervised by other inmates, companions, as referred to within the confines of the prison, who sit on watch outside of his cell door on a daily basis. Mr.
What?
Allen is afforded
Right.
right. That stuff wasn't in there, was it? Mr. Allen is
I
afforded.
call BS on that. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Allen is afforded very little, if any, recreation time outside of his cold concrete and metal quarters. Well, I mean, I don't think there's anything too comfy about a jail cell, regardless or not. Of course, it's cold. That goes without saying, to be honest with you. Attorneys for Mr. Allen, like, you know what I mean? It's not like going into a comfy home that's all, made you feel comfy. It's like going into a sterile home that's just like my mom's house was always like a cold feeling in a lot of ways, besides her one room that was more of a comfy room with the fireplace. But anyways, attorneys for Mr. Allen delivered nearly 1,000 pages of police reports to Mr. Allen on Friday, March 24, 2023, with the intention of seeking their client's cooperation in his own defense. As of Monday, April 3rd, 2023, said information has yet to be provided to Mr. Allen. The location of Mr. Allen's detention is such that he is isolated geographically, not only from his family, but also from his attorneys, who are required. There, I'm on the next page there.
Wow. Sorry.
Hold on, let me just
Okay.
scroll up.
4. I'm trying to remember my thoughts so that when we come back to them, I can be like, oh.
Yeah, do you want to
Right.
stop there and talk about that for a second, or first, or
I
not?
mean, I don't know. I mean, we can just read it. But how many more pages? 3?
Yeah. Let's just finish it, and then we'll go back, and then we'll go into chat about it. Yeah.
To travel for work to speak with him in confidence regarding his case. Said visits also require making logistical arrangements with prison officials in advance of visits. It is difficult, if not impossible, for Mr. Allen's attorneys to share confidential and sensitive information with Mr. Allen due to the logistical challenges associated with Mr. Allen's segregation and isolation, to the extent that Mr. Allen is being deprived of his constitutional right to assist in his defense. In contrast, the state of Indiana, through its prosecutorial and law enforcement divisions, sit in the comfort of their own command center, planning and preparing to prosecute Mr. Allen to the fullest extent of the law. 11. In sum, Mr. Allen is being treated far less favorably than a convicted person, many of which are housed in less secure areas of the prison, are offered programming therapy and mental health services, routine recreation, and contact visits with family and friends. To further complicate matters, Mr. Allen has suffered from depression dating back to his early years. Upon his incarceration, Mr. Allen was presumably evaluated and medicated by prison medical staff. Up until a visit with Mr. Allen on April 4th, that's yesterday, 2023, counsel for Mr. Allen found him to be polite, communicative, with great eye contact, generally responsive to our questions, and exhibiting a good sense of humor on occasion in spite of his false arrest and circumstances. However, Mr. Allen's deteriorating physical condition has been observed by counsel dating back to the beginning of the new year. So wait, was it today or was it the beginning of the new year? Sorry. Because until yesterday, everything was fine apparently. Sorry. As recently as Friday, April 24th, 2023. Funny, that's in the future. I'm going to assume that means March.
Right.
Attorney Andrew Baldwin met with Mr. Allen with optimistic news about the direction of the case, and Mr. Allen was inquisitive about the information, was thankful about the information, and optimistic about the information. Only 10 days later, April 3rd, 2023, attorneys for Mr. Allen observed a steep decline in Mr. Allen's demeanor, even though they have not been able to get access to him or see him, but yet they saw him on the 24th of March and apparently now the 3rd of April and the 4th. Interesting. Attorneys for Mr. Allen observed a steep decline in Mr. Allen's demeanor, ability to communicate, ability to comprehend, and ability to assist in his defense. Simply put, this version of Richard
Allen. Allen was a very different version than counsel for Mr. Allen had interacted with over the past 5 months. Mr. Allen appeared to be suffering from various psychotic symptoms, which counsel would describe as schizophrenic and delusional. Counsel further believes that in our April 4th visit, basically in 2023, interaction, Mr. Allen seems to be suffering from memory loss and is demonstrating an overall inability to communicate rationally with counsel and family members. Counsel experienced these symptoms firsthand upon visiting Mr. Allen on Monday, April 4th. Mr. Allen's physical condition is deteriorating rapidly. Attached to Exhibit A is a photo of Mr. Allen taken by counsel at the correctional facility on April 4th, 2023. Said photo reflects the significant toll of his current incarceration on his physical person and by extension, his mental capacity. By contrast, see attached Exhibit B, which reflects his condition a year or two prior. So obviously those are the pictures that we had showed earlier in the live, and I'll show them again. By contrast, so is year 2 prior to his incarceration, the conditions under which Mr. Allen has been forced to endure are akin to that to a prisoner of war. 14, the test for determining the constitutionality, I think it says, of treatment of pretrial detainees alleged to deprive them of the liberty without due process of law is whether these conditions amount to punishment of the detainee. And then a case here, Mr. Allen is being punished to the fullest extent of the law. The conditions he is currently enduring have been thrust upon him without any judicial analysis of the need for such deprivation of his liberty. Further, counsel is unaware of any facts outside of those generally alleged in the sheriff's safekeeping petition, which courts need to detain Mr. Allen on what could casually be referred to as death row. 15, approximately 2 months prior to the filing of this petition, Attorney Rozzi was able to secure a more traditional bed space in the Cass County Jail, a newly erected modern jail facility with the most advanced security measures, located directly across the street from okay, I'm sorry, but Attorney Rozzi's office and only approximately 20 miles from Carroll County Courthouse. Said
What?
modification, what
Sorry.
no, that's okay. Said modification of Mr. Allen's incarceration would result in a more humane living environment in which Mr. Allen would be afforded immediate access to his attorneys, and more importantly, would allow Mr. Allen to have regular contact visits with his family, i.e. the detention circumstance would afford Mr.
And my turn?
Yep.
All right. Page 6. Yeah. Allen, due process of law. Under these circumstances, Mr. Allen would be treated like other inmates awaiting trial in the criminal justice system, as opposed to being punished based only on the merits of untested charging information and a probable cause affidavit. In the process of facilitating Mr. Allen's removal from the Westville Correctional Facility, Attorney Rozzi communicated with Prosecutor Nicholas McClellan, who articulated that he had no objection to a modification of Mr. Allen's detention circumstances to a facility closer to Carroll County. Attorney Rozzi was recently informed that the Carroll County Sheriff's Department declined Attorney Rozzi's request to have Mr. Allen removed from the harsh conditions under which he was currently detained, to a more traditional county jail near Mr. Allen's attorney and family. Funny, I thought his family lived in Carroll County. Mr. Allen asserted that said denial is a deliberate attempt to impose conditions upon him that are intended to frustrate his purpose in defending against the charged allegations and create a hardship on him which would drive any human to mental breakdown. Ding, ding, ding. Said approach to his pretrial detention is a direct infringement of his Sixth Amendment right under the United States Constitution. From a practical standpoint, 18, it is also worth noting that the raw volume of discovery offered up by the state of Indiana in this case is overwhelming. For example, there exists nearly 3,000 pages of law enforcement reports that need to be examined in this case. In addition, there exists thousands of hours of surveillance video and video interviews of potential suspects, witnesses, and other interested parties. The discovery suggests that the law enforcement authorities have processed over 31,000 tips during the course of the investigation, all of which must be reviewed by the defense. Reasonable access to Mr. Allen is necessary as he is needed to assist with the process of reviewing discovery. His current detention situation does not provide this convenience. 19. As a further practical matter, both co-counsel for Mr. Allen are having to drive hours away from their respective law offices in order to talk with Mr. Allen, and the time spent on the road is much more costly for Carroll County taxpayers than housing Mr. Allen is in Cass County, where everyone, except the Carroll County Sheriff, is on board with Mr. Allen being housed during the pendency of this case. And
just continue on, Adam. 20.
Attorney Rozzi believes an emergency exists and time is of the essence based upon the dramatic change in Mr. Allen's condition, including his change in demeanor in one day, change in appearance, and change in his overall mental health status, and respectfully request that this honorable court modify the safekeeping order as permitted by IC 3533-11-1 and order Richard Allen to be transported and housed at the Cass County Jail or somewhere nearer to his family and lawyers, and to do so without a hearing, or, in the alternative, to conduct a hearing as soon as possible before Mr. Allen is placed in further jeopardy due to his current placement, and also so that Mr. Allen may assist his lawyers in addressing Mr. Allen's mental health concerns, as well as allowing Mr. Allen to participate in the preparation of his defense and for all other just and proper relief in the premises. Okay. Signed, Bradley A. Rozzi.
And of course, as we showed earlier, this is the photo that was okay. I can't help it, Adam. I mean, it looks like I don't know, like a full. Hey.
The stain on the t-shirt. That's a choice.
I was gonna say, like, meaning it looks like two eyes and some wicked hairdo on someone that's missing their body. And so when I'm looking at this, all I'm seeing is two eyes and a goatee and some fluffy hair, like a poodle. So, but you're right. You know, like I was thinking, is that a stain? But then I kept seeing a face in this. Like, seriously, it looks. It looks like two eyes and a hairdo and a goatee, and right. But
you know, and I viewers, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not a doctor. Richard Allen. Well, I mean, I personally think that you would have to have something triggered in your head wrong to do what he did, what allegedly he did to Libby and Abby. You know, so I'm not at all saying that he doesn't suffer from schizophrenia or something. I'm not going to diagnose him because I don't know. I just, you know, the language within that this was written is, I mean, oh my goodness, there's more romance in this than there is on, you know, a Hallmark movie at Christmas. I mean, it was so romanticized and so exaggerated. It's complete bullshit, in my opinion.
you know, um, like we talked about earlier in the live, and Steph, I sent you the link if you do want to pop on for a few minutes. Whoops, here, sorry, my bad, you guys. Put us back up here. Um, you know, regardless of Richard Allen or not, obviously, I believe that everyone is still entitled to their that a humane
Absolutely.
space in a sense. So, you know, obviously, it's going to impact someone's mental health. But now, are they gonna play on this? Because you know what I kept hearing throughout all of this in my head was uh, m- partly bullcrap and the fact that they want to move him closer so it's more convenient for them. And of course, they're going to like that's probably why his arm is twisted up, like, like to make him look pathetic. Okay. I mean, that's the goal here. The guy, and like Kelly and me, when we were having a conversation earlier, he was a smoker, he was a drinker. Okay. Now, I'm sure he's probably getting some puffs in his, cell and stuff like maybe not at all,
Right.
and obviously anyone having withdrawals and okay, as a
Those should be over.
smoker, pardon?
I mean, by the end of October, those should be. I mean, any withdrawals, but either
Mm.
for alcohol or anything else, should be over by now.
Well, I was going to say, right? Like, meaning, sorry, as I don't smoke, I vape. But as a smoker before, and I've never really been a big drinker, but bottom line is that if I had a choice to have a smoke or food, I would always have a smoke. Do you know?
Right.
Like, honestly, whenever I felt craving for food, it's not because it just was a natural thing. I would just be like, whatever, too lazy to go make something, just have a smoke. So granted, but it's just that this seems like so it took you this long. So barring the fact that I think that any human being still deserves, to what I mean. I don't believe in being in a confined space like the hole and stuff like that. I honestly don't care what you did, or how you, got into the hole, but I don't believe in that because that would anyone in a small little space, it's going to drive you crazy. Okay. It simply will. Um, but I already took my Ambien. Oh, okay. We know how it is. Okay. Okay. Support. But so barring the fact of anyone in existence, I don't believe that to me that is that putting someone in a small little box is justifying the crime of maybe what they did. Take away things in a sense, maybe segregate them if that's what you need to do. But I still believe that you should be put into a space that's at least humane, and not treated, like a little, wild animal in a sense. I think of the Elephant Man that always goes through my head as a child when I watched that. And they had this human in this cart and taking him around like he was some sort of, freak of nature, which he was, but, but anyways.
Yeah, so, I was, I mean, I believe that, I believe that Allen's lawyers have a very, very good point when they brought up the Sixth Amendment, because it is highly unusual from the get-go that Richard Allen's being held in any, in a prison and not a jail. So even if he weren't suffering from a mental health crisis, I feel like he should have grounds to be transferred regardless, because he should, I get that he probably can't be in the Carroll County Jail. I get that. But he does still have the same constitutional rights that every other American does under the Constitution. He's presumed innocent until proven guilty. So I 100% support his defense asking for this, and Nick McClelland saying he has no problem with it. To me, the Carroll County Sheriff's Department, their hesitation is mainly just because they probably don't know what to do with him, and they probably don't want to have to deal with it. So it's easier for them to hand it off to a state agency or a federal thing, not federal, but but yeah, no, I support him getting the exact same rights that every other American is given under the Constitution.
And that's and same, right? Like again, having your life stripped away from you. Bottom line is, to me, he is innocent until proven guilty, in a sense. And although I always remember this lawyer not too long ago saying, look, it's really guilty until proven innocence, because obviously they've arrested you because they believe that they have enough evidence to, of course, charge you and stuff like that. But, obviously it's up to the prosecutors then to prove, that he's guilty.
Right.
So, like the lawyer said, you're really guilty until proven innocent instead of innocent until proven guilty, for that just said reason. But at the end of the day, he is innocent till proven guilty.
Yes.
He does deserve, so I have personally no problem with what they're requesting, but that there's embellishment going on for sure. And kind of what we talked about, it sounds like this to me a little bit to my ears, like, well, basically he's not being responsive and all this stuff. And again, they're playing on that. I know. They're playing on that, it's no different, right? When someone embellished Ron Logan's search warrant, in a sense, as well. You're making it seem like we got this, we need this warrant.
And,
but anyway.
And Bradley's and his lawyers are good. Rozzy's, I don't know as much about him. I do know that he did defend Ron Logan a long time ago. But I think that, the timing and all that was so interesting. They're like, as of April 4th, which was yesterday. Yeah. And then they're like, we can't get to see him. But then they're like, on April 3rd, this. And then they talked about the beginning of the year, they started noticing the decline. So I'm like, okay, well, what is, because I'm like, you're literally writing the 7-page emergency hearing request off of, his behavior yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, hopefully his lawyers don't ever come talk to me before I've had lunch or, caffeine in the morning.
Again, it's been deteriorating since the beginning of the year. So,
right.
So like for me, it's like anything. You're going to fabricate it in a sense to make it seem worse than it really is. Now it sounds to me like, well, look at, basically he's being driven to insanity. But if we bring him over here,
Do you notice that quote?
Hey.
Do you notice that quote? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but to me, I said that quote earlier in the group chat because that quote to me stands out like a neon sign when they talk about the would drive anyone to a mental breakdown. Because I'm like, I'm like the quotations they put around that. I'm like, they are setting the stage for, well, how could he not have, how could he be, not have a insanity defense, when he's been driven to these conditions, and we all know he had previous things in life. They made sure to lay that groundwork,
I didn't see the quote, but yeah, absolutely, but yeah, let me put it this way. If everything's okay, I feel like he deserves to be closer to. I do feel like he deserves to. I'm putting myself in his place, and of course, it would mean everything to me if I was in his shoes, to be able to be closer to my family, even if you just know it in your head.
But here's my question though: is any person that's incarcerated in Indiana right now able to in person see their family? Because my understanding is that all visits right now are still virtual.
Oh, I have no idea. Are they?
I've not verified it, but that's my understanding is that, currently that in, anyone either awaiting trial or, especially it would be a waiting trial, that all visits are virtual.
And very well could be. I mean, if he's virtually allowed to see his family, he's not being so deprived.
Well, they said he had a tablet. They said, they said all of his visits have to be through a tablet.
Through a tablet.
And again, I think that it's in the best interest of the state of Indiana, of Carroll County, of the families of Libby and Abby, that Richard Allen get every right he's granted under the Constitution, because it's going to set the stage for the most fair way to convict him because he's guilty, allegedly. But, so I mean, even though I'm saying all this is BS, I 100% support it, and I think that he absolutely should be given every right that he's granted.
He should just be given a fair opportunity. And again, you know, and anyone that's watching this live, if you guys, there's 103 people watching, if you guys could give it a thumbs up. Most people know that Delphi is our case, our baby in a sense. And I know that we haven't been, I was in the middle of making a Delphi video today. It's not going to come out today, however, but it's one of those things, like I said, you know, as a channel, you know, like I said, because it was when things are happening with Delphi, you know, but there's other cases out there going on as well. And so we know that there's certain channels that are just covering Delphi and stuff like that. So I do apologize if some people that are subscribers here, you know, don't see as much Delphi from us, but we refuse to write a case just for the sake of writing it. Me and Adam both, it's kind of like why I never put out a video in the last few days, or I had done a live, because, you know, just was not feeling it. You know, like, it's like I just needed a mental break myself, just to watch Mr. Beast, to be honest with you. For the most part, I'm still looking at stuff, and I'm still looking at connections for Delphi, even if we're not so much talking about it. You know, Delphi is always there, and I'm always struggling to understand Richard Allen's role in all of this. Like I said, and I pray that one day it does come out. But, you know, like I said, I do hope that they grant him this request. I just don't like it when things are played up. You know me, I hate it when you're reading something and you know that it's enhanced and it's made to look a certain way. That's what always,
the language, just the language alone.
Right, because it makes you want to route.
Inhumane.
Yeah. It just makes you want to upchuck as you're reading it, because you know that these are just words that they're using to obviously make it seem like he's in this dire condition, that he's pretty much, you know, not sure if he's going to survive or not. I'm pretty sure it's not that bad, and I'm pretty sure that they should have done something a little bit sooner than wait this amount of time to determine all this stuff. So that part's always very fishy. I mean, if his health was so deteriorating, you know, you could have done this a couple months ago then. But anyways, regardless of that stuff, you know, I think that he just deserves what, you know, like I said, the requests, if he's allowed to ask for these requests and get those requests, you know, so be it. Because again, even if he did this, but the thing is, in my head, as I'm saying this right now, he's innocent until proven guilty. And Absolutely. So until that date that he's actually proven guilty, because he could walk, you never know. We don't know, you know, we can't say 100% for sure that he did do it, besides what he's been charged for, because we haven't barely seen anything for evidence wise. You know, unlike Brian Kohberger's case, where we've seen a lot of different things, but still Brian Kohberger too is innocent until proven guilty. And I just, as a human being, that's what I care about. Regardless if you're a big piece of, you know what, camel dung, you know, you still deserve your basic human rights as a
Absolutely.
person. And
so I wonder, I'm sorry. I was going to say, you know, I wonder, with the 3,000 pages of discovery that there's going to be. Well, so apparently there's been 1,000 pages that have been delivered to the prison. So I guess Nick McClelland has gotten on some of that discovery that he said he was backed up on. You know, so he's now 1,000 pages have been delivered. You know, if his lawyers were there on the 3rd and 4th, why weren't they at least presenting the pages to him? Because they said he hadn't been given the pages yet. They said they were there on the 4th, yesterday. Yeah. So they could have given him the pages. If they deemed he wasn't, you know, mentally capable of comprehending them, that was their choice not to give him those pages. You know, so now we have 1/3 of the discovery already in, and, you know, 31,000 tips. And then, did you notice the most important? I think the most interesting thing about this was we've been told about the surveillance video, and there being a lot more surveillance video than just the one at the Harvest store. This is the first confirmation we've ever seen in a court document that saying that there is. Right. Yeah. Because you remember when the affidavit came out for Richard Allen,
Yeah.
the person that I've been talking to from the case said that there's lots of surveillance and lots of surveillance video. And I've never seen it in a court document, but now we have.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was going to say, and absolutely, Adam. I know that as you were reading that, I could see your wheels churning on that one, because, like you said, that there's going to be definitely more footage out there, regardless. I am curious. Anyways, now I'll hold that thought. Ruckus said that they will not allow him to have paper if he is on, obviously, trying to take his own life watch. BC inmates will cut themselves with paper.
Right.
And
but he's been on, my understanding is he's been on like that watch since he's been there. So that's not new.
It's not new, but isn't she just really saying, though, that he's not allowed physical paper, that it would have to be?
But I'm saying, but to put that in a court document, that he's not been given the 1,000 pages. If it's a standard thing that they're not given paper when they're on S watch, I don't think the S watch is new. So that wouldn't be something that you'd put, that I would think would be like crucial in this emergency hearing.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
I get that they're throwing everything at the wall, and I get that. That's what I would do if I was his lawyer too.
Let me ask you guys: do you think that Richard Allen has a stronger defense team than Abby and Libby have for a prosecutor team? Because I think that the defense team, I mean, not to say that the evidence might show differently, but I think that the defense team could probably, wipe the butts of the prosecutor team going on, to be honest with you, besides barring the fact of the evidence. But if you had to compare the one team to the other team, I think that Richard Allen has the stronger of the two teams. What do you think, Adam?
I was putting in the chat, but I guess I could just say it. I think that, from everything, I've researched Bradley quite a bit. Bradley's a good lawyer. Like, I mean, I was unaware of him until he started representing Richard Allen, but he's a good lawyer. He's smart. He's qualified. He's got a good reputation. And I believe that it's going to completely come down to the strength of the state's case and evidence, which we don't know. We don't know all of the evidence that the state of Indiana has against Richard Allen. So if the only evidence they have is what we publicly know, which doubtful.
Right.
Yeah, no, the defense has a much better chance. But if they have damning evidence against Richard Allen,
right,
then I think that Nick McClellan is fine.
Well, I was going to say, right, exactly. And that just comes down to it. If the evidence is there to support everything, to believe that Richard Allen did certain things that particular day, then that's going to, weigh, of course, heavy on whether someone's going to be convicted or not. But it's just one of those things. If you took that part of it away, you got a great defense team. I'm amazed that they didn't ask Mr. Chu to come on there from Johnny Depp's side, to be honest with you. Yeah. Imagine that. That would be crazy.
I think the judge, I honestly, I'm incredibly impressed with the judge. I think that she is fair. I think she's practical. I think that she's very pragmatic. From everything I've read about her, I've read some of her rulings, and they're very analytical. I really, really, I like the way her mind works, at least from what I can tell reading her rulings. So I feel like the stage has been set. I mean, I have a few little things I would tweak, but I feel like the stage has been set, hopefully for the best possible way it can be for Abby and Libby to get justice. I still am going to be hopeful in that. We
know that, that this court date, this stuff's not even going to happen till some point next year. Honestly, like everything's going to get postponed and this and that and stuff like that. But I said it on the live earlier. I mean, if you compare what he looked like, back then, in a sense, to what he looks like now, he looks like a cancer victim. To be honest with you, that's what he reminds me of, looking at him. But do I think he's on the verge of death and stuff like that? No.
Well, when did we see him last? When was he in the yellow? When was that? Was that January?
That's when JLR was shouting out the whole, stuff to Richard Allen. And Richard Allen was looking quite like the chunky monster there, right?
Right.
Like,
well,
you guys.
So, I mean, granted, those were baggy and he was wearing, so, I mean, he's short, so he's going to carry weight differently, So I'm wondering, because I heard he's lost 27 pounds, which really not that much. But, I mean, because I was trying to think, how long has it been? Because I think that hearing was in January, right? January 13th.
Yeah. January 13th. Yep.
So,
that's right.
3 months, 27 pounds, I could lose that if I was stressed in a month.
I heard someone put like 72 pounds.
No.
And I was like,
it was 27 pounds. Is what I read. From
when I think originally saw him, like maybe, like a year ago, probably 72 pounds is probably close, because he had quite the little beer belly going on and stuff like that. But now that he doesn't have the booze,
the beer, you take the beer away.
You take the beer away, and your stomach starts deflating instead of inflating. I mean, because clearly he had a 12-pack of whatever Budweiser or whatever the heck he drinks going on there. And obviously he can't just eat whenever he wants or smoke whenever he wants. Let me put it again. It just really, bottom line for me on this whole thing is that everyone deserves to have humane conditions. And darn well that you would not like to be locked in a room or a hole or anything like that as a human being. You would feel like, again, your brain starts playing. When I'm at home, too much, and this is why I like to be interactive, because I was always a very extroverted person. Now I'm an extroverted person on the internet, not so much in the real world. But the reason when the C word hit, the C-19 hit, and basically the boss was going to have to close down the store. And there's a couple people from each store that wanted to help him and keep it open. And I was one of them. And I was the only person at the one store that was just me. The other ones had two people. And this was to work for free, to help them out. But for my own sanity, to be honest, because when I'm left with my thoughts, because my thoughts can go from A to Z, no problem, to the most severe. And so when I have too much time to think, my brain's a thinking brain, and it's not healthy for me. And I know that. So imagine being locked up where you can't just go outside and escape. It's like, no matter what, the regular conditions are going to be hard enough as it is. Again, I like for something to be to fit the crime. And I don't think being locked up like a wild animal, in a sense, in a small little space, does anybody any good whatsoever when it comes to their mental health. And that's regardless of if it's Richard Allen or not. To me, the punishment should always fit the crime. You take away things, you don't allow certain things or whatever, but to cage someone up in this little confined space, anyone would probably get claustrophobic, have anxiety issues going on. And it's not healthy for the brain. And we want Richard Allen to be healthy, but I think that anyone deserves that regardless of what they've done, just as being a human being, and I always just put myself in the other person's shoes, how, that's not, they're locked up. They have everything stripped away from them in a sense, meaning that they just can't go out anymore. So the minimum that they should have at least is a decent space. And as for the padding on the ground, obviously, if they're like CD said earlier, if somebody is underneath S watch, they're not going to give them a bed, something that they can break apart to try to hurt themselves with and stuff
Right.
like that. Because regardless, they do want him to stand trial, and that's hence why, right? They don't want him to unalive himself. Anyways, go ahead, Adam.
Oh
There's
no, I
lots of
mean,
people.
I think you I don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah, right. I would gone crazy a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you know,
I mean,
like I said, I did put out a video earlier today, like a short earlier today, where I literally just kind of laid out the constitutional rights. Because I don't, even with him being at Westville, he's not being denied his constitutional rights. I mean, every prisoner, whether convicted or awaiting trial, is entitled to health care, which includes all mental health. He's also completely constitutionally able to request a transfer due to a mental health issue. That all boils down to then the jurisdiction and the judge that's ruling over the case. So everything that I'm seeing so far, even if they're saying it's not, it's worse than someone that's convicted. I mean, he's still being provided his constitutional rights. He's just advocating for them to be transferred to a different facility. Mm-hmm. But he's, for him to say he seems this and he seems that, he's being mentally evaluated. Mm-hmm. If he's not, there's a much bigger issue going on in Indiana. If Westville Correctional Facility is not giving Richard Allen mental evaluations, then there's a huge problem happening.
Adam, don't you think because it's a high profile case that we all know that there's the good and the bad in all different jobs, and what we see isn't necessarily what is, meaning of course there's stuff that goes on, we've seen it all the time, stuff that goes on where freaking correctional officers are helping inmates escape and different things. True. So we know that things definitely aren't perfect over there. And Adam, what was my question? I trailed off.
You said do you think everything is as it seems? We know that
yeah, you guys.
Right. And I will say, Laura, yeah, exactly. Like I said, I'm not saying that. I think you have to have something not firing properly in your brain in order to do what he's accused of doing. But yeah, I think the timing of all of this is very, I think Richard Allen probably is feeling the weight of having been in there for 6 months or 5 months, and he doesn't like it. And he wants to, he thinks that, the grass is going to be greener somewhere else. So he wants to be moved to a different facility. You know what? That's fine. Move him to a different facility. I guarantee you his mental state won't get any better. I guarantee you it will continue to decline, even if they move him to Cass County. Mark my words.
Yeah. I was going to say before too, meaning, see, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to that, because in my head, if I knew geographically that I was closer to my family, because the only thing that guy has to really hope for is that his family and stuff doesn't turn on him as well,
Right. Well,
do you know
so tell me this. So why? So if in-person jail visits are allowed,
yeah,
then why is he not being provided that right? Especially when this just came to his attorney's attention yesterday, but he hasn't seen his family in 5 months. So right. What caused him to not be able to see his family? The fact that they didn't come visit him? The fact that there's no person visits? I mean, I mean, what if his wife and daughter don't want to see him? I mean, you could, it's not a lie to say he hasn't seen his family in 5 months. They didn't necessarily say the reason. Because, literally, if it's just this mental health crisis that's happening, or emergency, then, why in the last 5 months haven't they been allowed to see him?
Right. I mean, it does make you wonder.
I call bullshit.
It does make you wonder if the family just doesn't want to go see him, or
or if there's no in-person visits and they're using, the technicality to argue the point.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Or is there corruption? I don't know.
Well, that's what I was going to say earlier, right? About being a high-profile case. So, because this is a high-profile case, you would think that they would be crossing their T's, dotting their I's, especially when it comes to Richard Allen, because for this fact that it's such a high-profile case out there, and all eyes are on, Richard Allen, and just simply all eyes are on him because it is a high-profile case. So, I would like to think that they were following the rules with Richard Allen. Now, if he, of course, got thin because his beer got, he can't have his beer and do certain things like he was, or maybe he's in a state of depression, which I'm sure he is, but I mean, it's between his lips and God's ears, he knows the truth of what happened or didn't happen, but to me, this picture, is just to make it look like he's, like gimpy almost is the word I want to use. And yeah, like here's a soiled, there's a good word. Here's a soiled shirt to show that he, isn't able to change his clothes. And, from what CD said, he was saying that basically maybe every 3 days you get a shower. It's not like, you just go, every day I want to shower and do this and do that. And I don't know what all the rules are for inmates myself. I've never, thankfully, never experienced anything to do with anything jail or prison or anything like that. This is where I really miss Blaine. I really miss Blaine, especially on these topics. I mean, I miss him regardless, but you know what I'm saying? Because Blaine was always a wealth of information, somebody that had been in the system, could tell you certain things. It would have been a great convo, to be honest with you. And we've been trying to get Dab to commit a crime so that she can give us some.
Another one.
Right. Anyways, you guys, we're gonna end this live in just a couple of minutes. And tomorrow, we have the live for Delphi scheduled with John. Now, John did send me a message earlier that said that, because we had been talking a lot in the morning, John from Crime Scene to Courtroom, but just be aware that he said he did have a sore throat. He will let me know in the morning if it's a go still. So if you don't happen to see us go live tomorrow, it's for said reason. Because the whole point was me and Adam can talk about Delphi all day long if we wanted to, but the whole point was to, Alexa never answered me back on that one, but she said she was got a lot of stuff, and I just heard back from her tonight as well. So she had a lot of stuff going on, and I know that she's preparing for her trip to Canada as well as some, personal issues. And so we'll see if John, if NCD, his kids are on spring break. Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. So tomorrow, if you see a live go up, then everything's good to go with John from Crime Scene to Courtroom. If you don't, then it's because obviously, like I said, me and Adam can do a live anytime. So this one was scheduled.
And I agree with Melissa 100%. So just because I'm speaking harshly about Richard Allen, I mean, I 100%, like I said, I believe in treating people inhumanely is not right in bad conditions. He's not been found guilty, and he still should be allowed allotted every constitutional right as everyone else is.
I think it's one thing when they're I think and sorry, thank you again, Charlotte Dean, for
Thank you.
the super sticker. Appreciate that. What did Deb say there? A private prison cell size. These cells are rarely larger than 6 feet by 8 feet, and two men often share them. I just looked it up. Oh, did you, Deb? I was wondering in my head. I just go by what I see on TV, and they look small, but they don't look like they're 6 feet by 8. But if that's a standard size, a private prison cell size, these cells are rarely larger than okay. And two men often share them. I just looked like just think about your body, Adam. Like a bed in itself is, like 6 feet over 6 feet long. But I'm just thinking about, my husband's sleeping in the bed and his feet go right to the end. So the bed is pretty much 6 feet.
By 8 feet.
Yeah, 6 feet by 8 feet.
So, clearly the bed's going to be on the 8 foot on the wall that's 8 feet long.
Yeah, I'm going to have
And then you're
to.
going to have, I don't know. Maybe I'm mean. If you're awaiting trial for, a potential crime, and if you have a dry roof above your head, a temperature controlled room, what's humane? What's inhumane? A 6x8 room with two people that are being accused of a crime with a working toilet and sink.
I couldn't imagine ever being.
I couldn't either, but I've never committed a crime to go to jail.
I know. Deb, what's your experience with that, by the way? Since,
That I've gone to jail.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Even
check that out.
though Andrew said I would run the place, right? Right.
Well, I guess again, I guess it remains to be seen because, like anything, they're all I'm really reading out of that whole thing was that they want to move him as close to their office, which is across the street, as possible, and they're embellishing quite a bit. But regardless of any of that, I just believe that everyone has the right to be treated humanely while even in the system, and just the basics. And again, however they do it to earn rights and stuff, now it still blows me away. But I guess that's the wave of the future. It blows me away, all this iPad stuff that they got access.
I was getting ready to say, come on, Richard Allen, just chirp us and let us know how bad is it.
Yeah, right. Chirp, chirp away. It's not actually. Well, it depends where he is. But remember, Blaine said that in prison it was called something else, but in jail it's called chirps.
I said he's got his iPad, so he can chirp.
But anyways, you guys. So go ahead,
Melissa. I will say, Murdaugh had his own clothes in court. When he left, so Murdaugh would literally come out of his jail cell in the morning. He would get dressed for court. And then when he left the courtroom, he would change back into his prison clothes. So that's something that, is for court. But notice when he went in for sentencing, he was wearing a jumpsuit. So when you're going in for trial, you can wear, your attorney can bring in clothes for you. But typically after you're convicted, yeah. So Richard Allen, he could be brought in clothes when they go to court. But technically before, while he's just, awaiting trial, he would have to wear the prison or jail issued clothing.
Lala says, but why do they think he will be safer than he would have been in November? There are definitely people gunning for him in Carroll County.
Right. Same Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
That's Charlotte. That's why I said, even without the mental health issue, I feel like he has an argument to be moved because, typically people awaiting trial aren't held in a prison. So,
right.
I agree.
Yeah. And my biggest problem is that he is still considered innocent. And then that's my thing as well, you know, the presumption of innocence. And so again, if it was a full pledge, he's guilty, enjoy the system. And we all know that it's not as, what they make it seem like. You know what I mean? Like I said, there's definitely stuff going on that's not so pretty. And, we know that, but he is innocent. And until such time as he's proven guilty, okay, then you face those repercussions in a sense. Like, I mean, they don't deserve, like I said, no posh cell and stuff like that. Just the basic humanities that, each of us need to do. Go to the bathroom, have a place to sleep, just,
have those.
like I said, they're not wild dogs. They're still human beings, even if they committed crimes, but he is innocent. So, but the thing is, though, I'm just not so sure I'm buying all this stuff, to be honest with you. I think that
just because you don't think your conditions are humane doesn't mean they aren't humane.
Right.
I'm not saying they are. I'm just,
I just see a lot of embellishment.
I don't know what you want.
Yeah.
Look at Brian Koberger. Anyone's going to be, Brian Koberger is of a higher risk being around other inmates. Alex Murdaugh was. That's why he's going to be in protective custody for the rest of his life, probably. I don't know what privileges Richard Allen wants, but I say give him whatever he wants. Let's go to trial, and then he can rot if he's convicted of this crime.
Yeah. Like I said, in general,
I agree. Rose. Sorry.
Yeah. Which one are you referring to there?
That private prisons should be illegal. I think that for-profit private prisons are one of the worst things that our country has ever.
Absolutely.
Ever
really?
done.
He has got those? Oh.
Private prisons have become, especially in rural areas in America, in a lot of states, private prisons have become not only a huge financial benefit to the area, they've become, in a lot of cases, the largest employer in entire counties. And then, how do you take that away after something like that's come in?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a big problem.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I didn't even know that, to be honest with you. And Peace Not Silence. The thing is that, again, Delphi, big high profile case. So do I believe that a lot of that shady stuff goes on in prisons? Absolutely. But with Richard Allen being such a but this is a high profile case. I can't see them treating him like he's a freaking dog. I just want everyone to have their basic human rights that they're entitled to. And I don't believe putting people in these little itty bitty holes and small little cells is doing anybody any good. It's not, to me, fixing any problem besides you're literally basically playing with somebody's brain and their mindset. Like, that to me is inhumane, because nobody, I don't care who you are, deserves to get put in a little cell, regardless, because that's not justifying the ends, in a sense, to me. Like,
what makes it? I think it's in every single person's best interest if they give him every luxury that he's asking for right now.
Luxury,
because it does, because at the end of the day, it's not going to have enough. I guarantee you, like I said, they could put him in the Ritz-Carlton. His mental health will not get better. He will not gain weight at this point. His family may come visit him. I don't know the circumstances of why they aren't. So I'm just saying, give him everything he's asking for and get to trial. That's all I would focus on if I were the state of Indiana right now.
Yeah.
Because like I said, any of that's not going to cost them anything. They still have the evidence they have.
Did we dreamscape? We had one private prison in Canada. It lasted for 5 years and the government took it back. We now have 0. Good. I don't approve of that whatsoever. To me, I thought all prisons and stuff like that was simply, federal, state, ran. I didn't realize there was private prisons you guys had over there, and I totally don't agree with that whatsoever. Um, anyone? Oh, that's what it is. Jay pays.
Right.
See, come on,
So
Blaine, come on back.
I'm curious, Ivy Rose. What do you not agree with the mental health? Because I think that Richard Allen may absolutely be suffering from a mental health crisis. So I'm just curious, what you don't agree with.
Sorry, Adam, you just said what? That you agree? Did you say that you agree?
I was curious what Ivy Rose says she disagrees with about the mental health thing, because I know that I believe 100% that Richard Allen is most likely suffering from a mental health emergency or crisis. I just don't think that it's. I don't think that it's something. I'll say I don't think it's an emergency. I think he's suffering from the same mental health crisis he's been suffering from.
Oh, prior to going to jail, you mean?
Or literally, the wording in this document was that they noticed this, started at the beginning of the year, but they noticed it yesterday, April 4th, 2023.
Right. And
so
that's
they made
exactly
a huge decision because of the way he seemed on one day.
Well, again, just common sense.
No, he wouldn't get better with change. Sorry. Okay, I'm done.
No. Shoot. What was I going to say? Oh, you guys. Yeah, getting older is no fun. I swear to God.
Yeah, no, I do disagree. I don't think he will get. I don't think that he will improve optically before the trial.
I was going to say, I do disagree with Adam a bit on this one for sure, because I do think that anyone's mental health state would change if you were put into at least a somewhat probably better environment. So I feel like if he was put into the Ritz-Carlton, of course, or something like that, I do feel like his mental state would change, because I feel like when you're put into an environment that is what I would say toxic in a sense to somebody's mental health, and you're feeling like a scrunched up little animal that, so I disagree, because I think that Kegan Kline is doing perfectly well, as we could see by that picture that somebody illegally took in the courtroom that day. But thank you for that person for doing that. But I think that it would improve his mental state. But I think in this particular case that they're playing on it as if he's in, having the most, heinous conditions possible known to man almost, and making it seem like this is, like extremely detrimental. And, I think that they're overplaying it, considering why didn't they do this a while back, if he was in such dire condition in a sense. So I definitely know that they're overplaying it for sure. But I do feel like in someone's brain, if I knew I was closer to my family mentally, I know that I'm closer to them than being 3 or 4 hours away. That if I know that my family's only 20 minutes away, I'm definitely going to have a little bit different feeling in my head. So I'm going to more agree with Ivy on this one. But knowing that this is a lot of crock of crap as well.
Right.
I just want him to have his rights that he deserves, being innocent.
Like I will be happy to be wrong. I just, we'll see. But, for the whole distance thing, okay, Cass County to Delphi is 1 hour and 3 minutes. Not Cass County. I'm sorry. Westville Correctional Facility to Delphi is 1 hour and 3 minutes. If his family has not come see him in 5 months, or his lawyers have trouble going to see him, it's not because of the distance. This is central Indiana. I mean, Peru is 45 minutes from Delphi. Lots of things are an hour away.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Indianapolis is an hour away. It's, you know, it doesn't stop anyone from going places. So, I mean, it's not going to keep someone from going. The whole distance thing is a crock, in my opinion.
Well,
but I still think give him everything he's asking for, because it can hurt no one.
You know, but I think it just, again, just basic human rights that someone should have. Obviously, again, they wouldn't have arrested him if they didn't feel like there was, you know, enough evidence. I just wanted it to be treated like a typical, like anybody else, that you got your typical rights given to you. But again, I just go back to, I don't believe that. I think that, you know, something has to suit the crime. And I don't think that putting somebody and taking away that, again, you spend too much time with your brain, you know what happens. And then you can easily shut down, you know.
Yeah.
And that's just in the normal world, as you go about life, in a sense, not adding to the fact that, you know, unless you've been in these shoes of somebody that's been confined and stuff like that. Like, I've never been confined, you know, I have no idea, but I'm just thinking even in a basic day, and, you know, about the mental health issues. If I have too much time to spend with myself, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love me. You have to love yourself in order to love others and stuff like that. But like I said, and that's just the basics. I just however this turns out, I do hope he gets granted his wish. If that's where he wants to go and he's allowed to go there, then, you know, by all means, happy trails, you know, enjoy your new life in Cass County Jail, and you know, and then let the case play out. But again, do I think this is over dramatized, this documents? Of course it is. Right. Just like him doing
it can hurt no one. Yeah. Giving him these things doesn't hurt anyone. You know, it simply keeps everything, you know, on par with no one being able to say something was unjust or, you know, inhumane. So I say absolutely give everything that he's asking for, give it to him. You know, for multiple reasons.
Once he's guilty, if he's guilty, then, you know, you get the book like anybody else at you, and you know, deserve to earn your rights and the things. Like, to me, you should always have to earn things, earn to be able to go outside, earn.
Absolutely. You know, we even have, you know, standards and rights for animals that are, you know, only being housed so that they can then be made into food. So humans should be allowed, of course, the same, you know, the same dignity. You know, even if after he's convicted, he should be allowed to be treated humanely. I'm not saying at all that he doesn't deserve that. And and give him all of his discovery. But Ivy, again, you know, is he not been given it because he's on S-Watch, or because he's being kept from his rights?
Right, exactly. Anyways, you know, whatever, like, you know, regardless if they're embellishing it and whatever, you know, like I said, if it's one of those things, I'm just following the process in a sense.
Absolutely.
You know, because
I hope everyone doesn't think I don't have a heart.
No, I get exactly what you're saying. You know, but I didn't agree with if he was put in the Ritz-Carlton that his mental health wouldn't change. I totally disagree. If I'm in a better environment, it's like going to a tourist.
I said optically, I don't think it would agree. It would improve. I don't think he would. I don't think he would publicly. I don't think he would publicly improve.
Publicly. Oh,
because I think the optics of this are very intentional. Hence the stain on the shirt.
Oh, absolutely. You know, right? I mean, obviously, they're gonna put out their most attractive picture of him. They're not gonna, you know, have him dressed up in a clean shirt on, regardless.
Right.
At the end of the day.
And Ivy, I didn't even, the S-Watch thing. That's what everyone was saying, that people that are on S-Watch can't be given paper. That's not me.
You know, he looks sick. You know, again, you know, meaning obviously he's going to lose weight. He's not drinking his beer. He's not having food whenever he wants. I'm sure that he has money on his commissary as well. He's looking more pathetic than he probably is. But again, if you know that you did something or not, then you're exactly where you should be. And regardless, any, I think, person really is gonna definitely lose weight when they're in jail, except for Kagan Klein. We can tell that he's doing just fine. Isn't it funny how chunky wonky Kagan Klein still looks? You'd think that if he was being proactive while he was in the county jail, dude, lift some weights, do something. Like he could have had probably like this massively built body if he just did some push-ups instead of eating the freaking honey buns and stuff like that. But I mean, you look at him and he doesn't exactly look like he's lacking the weight there. He's obviously using, I mean, I think even the bird guy, like got chips, you got your commissary is like used for probably junk food. But I think that this is definitely overplayed, that they're definitely overplaying it, but whatever. Again, let the process happen the way it's going to happen. And
I'm gonna reread the part about the discovery that they put into that document, because that was the most we've seen about anything.
What page was that on?
I think it was on page 5 or 6. Like I said, that was because you remember we were told. I have it in emails and messages about all of the surveillance footage that exists in this case. The only surveillance footage we've ever been told about was the Harvest store.
Read that one again, Adam. 18. It's 18.
From a practical standpoint, it is also worth noting that the raw volume of discovery offered up by the state of Indiana in this case is overwhelming. For example, there exist nearly 3,000 pages of law enforcement reports that need to be examined in this case. In addition, there exist thousands of hours of surveillance video, thousands of hours, and video interviews of potential suspects, witnesses, and other interested parties. The discovery suggests that the law enforcement authorities have processed over 31,000 tips during the course of the investigation, all of which must be reviewed by the defense. Reasonable access to Mr. Allen is necessary as he is needed to assist with the process of reviewing discovery. His current detention situation does not provide for this convenience. So, yeah, like back in the end of October and November, I mean, I was sent the information about a lot of stuff, but including that there, this was not the only surveillance footage they had, and that they had tons of surveillance footage, and that was one of the key points that were going to be really important in the state of Indiana's case against Richard Allen, and that no one knew about all of the other surveillance footage. Until I see anything said by law enforcement or in a court document, I don't take it for fact. But we now see they have thousands of hours of surveillance footage. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Good night, Too Much Mom, by the way. I agree. Peace on that one. Current insanity will only prolong as long as they prove he wasn't insane at the time of the crime. They can't give him an insanity plea.
It could go to sentencing, though.
It can go to what, Adam?
It can go to sentencing. The insanity. That's why I didn't say plea. I'm not using the word plea at all. Defense.
Right.
Because
defense.
You can be mentally capable of making decisions when you commit a crime, but if something happens by the time you're sentenced, your sentence can still then be that of someone that would be insane or considered legally insane.
In addition, there exists thousands of hours of surveillance video and video interviews. Okay. Thing is that, I mean, they really couldn't have thousands of hours besides them talking about video interviews of potential suspects and stuff like that. So yeah, guaranteed through all of that they do. So yes, barring the fact, because
did they interview like 600 people early on?
Yeah, but as for Richard Allen himself, I mean, honestly, they're gonna have some footage, but they didn't.
Well, and this was
come across them for 6 years.
Well, so you correct me if I'm wrong when it all comes out, but the surveillance footage that they're referring to, I was told, is that all the surveillance footage that they're talking about is in the days and weeks leading up to the 13th. And this is all in an attempt to build a timeline for Richard Allen that shows his guilt. So it isn't just surveillance video of the day of the 13th or the day after or even the 12th. That it's in the weeks up to the crime. So that's why there are thousands of hours of it.
So
this could be CVS. This could be anywhere there's a camera in Delphi that he would have passed.
Well,
that would add to a timeline of his events.
I mean, I can see them having footage because, like anything, just without even saying the word Richard Allen, is that there would also, they would have videos or surveillance or videos or whatever from certain buildings because they would be asking for it, even if they didn't. But when it comes to Richard Allen being like at CVS, so meaning if they went to those places of business, regardless, without knowing that it was Richard Allen and stuff at the time, and just looked for anything with cameras that had footage of anything, and then going back through that footage and, hey, did I see his vehicle?
Well, remember, at the beginning of this case, there was the ISP, there was I don't know if the marshals were involved yet. There was Carroll County, there was Delphi, there was the FBI. Remember, one of those agencies was responsible for collecting all of the video footage they could from the time surrounding the event of the girls unaliving, meaning anything any business or camera had on its file. So, there were places in Delphi that had a week's worth of footage that hadn't been recorded over yet. Some places had a day or two.
Right.
So even if that agency may have made a mistake or two,
right,
they got thousands of hours of surveillance video.
Mm-hmm.
And then none of that was important until they had Richard Allen. Then you put Richard Allen into play, and then you can re-examine all of that video, which goes into why the time that Doug Carter talked about, we're going to need all of the, yes.
Absolutely.
And so all of that has come back around when you're examining the surveillance footage of literally the weeks leading up to the crime, or week leading up to the crime, with Richard Allen in your mind.
Yeah.
To build a timeline of his events.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I mean, honestly, I'm looking forward to the day again. Hopefully John will be fine tomorrow and we can talk about all this, the whole Delphi in general, and we'll see how that goes. Again, if you guys see a live go up, obviously it's still going on, but I'll see what John has to say first and foremost there. But we're going to get going here in just a sec, but thank you guys for joining us. And if you could hit that like button, we would appreciate that. And I mean, I always love a good discussion, whether, again, all opinions do matter. As long as you're not a troll, then they don't matter. but all opinions matter because, again, I mean, if it wasn't for different thoughts and different people's perspectives, it's kind of like when I read comments sometimes and I'm like, oh, I never really thought of that. Or if Adam just said something now, I was like, oh, I wasn't really actually aware of that somebody was in charge of going around knowing that stuff happens, but I, didn't know that, say, someone was assigned to specifically, go around. Just had never entered my mind to think of it that way, in a sense, knowing full well that, typically videos will loop over after a week. So I would expect that, any footage that they could grasp around Delphi to know what happened to those girls, and knowing that Richard Allen, all these years later, has been charged for the girls' homicides. I'm sad, but I'm excited to get to. I want to finally see what all this evidence is that they have against him, and I'm still really curious if there's anyone else gonna be arrested. My gut says I'm not. I don't know. My gut says no. But I don't know. But just quickly on that one, Adam, what does your gut tell you about that? Do you think someone else is going to be arrested in connection with Delphi? Or do you think that because it took so long that, so much evidence perhaps is,
It
they,
changes.
I
mean, I don't know. And, I think it changes depending on the day.
Yeah.
And then, then just today I had a very interesting conversation with someone that would know certain things.
Yeah.
And I was baffled by even just the fact that, some of the stuff they said to me that of information they do or do not know, when I would think that they would either know or not know something unequivocally.
I feel like you just like
Doug Carter. Did I Doug Carter you?
Yeah, you Doug Cartered me, man. Okay, you guys, we're gonna head off here again tomorrow. Barring on the fact if John says that his, throat is good today. Whatever, drink honey, right? Right? Drink honey, John, and
lemon.
Yeah, honey and lemon, and we'll see you tomorrow. But anyways, you guys, thanks for joining us tonight. It's 2 times in one day doing the live. Like I said, we're at the hour and 36 mark, and Adam has had a long day of making videos. So thanks, Adam, for doing this.
I'm sorry that I didn't live up to the co-host that was on earlier today.
It's what I mean. I secretly said to her that honestly, I think I'm not really missing Adam, and I was enjoying having Steffa. And
I'll get better.
I mean, she fell for it though. That was the thing. Is that like hook, line, and sinker? She was just like, "Oh, hey, Fig. Oh, I'm late." Do you want to just give a brief for Fig?
Fig knows what's going on.
Yeah, Fig. Fig, you know what's going on. We just had a nice, what, Fig? Yeah, watch us on replay. Anyways, love to see you, Fig, as always.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe.
Yeah. Me and Fig don't talk very much, but I deem him as a really great guy.
Fig is a good guy.
Just an all-around good person, Absolutely. So anyways, much love to you, Fig. And you guys have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. But if you see the thumbnail go up, like I said, then you'll know we're doing the live at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you don't see it go up, it means that John didn't drink his lemon and honey.
Just remember,
take care, guys.
Surveillance footage, important.
Yep. All righty. Yeah, exactly right. Okay, guys, take care. Have a good night. And if you're a member, we'll put this into the our Facebook members live, and we'll put it into the members Facebook. You guys anyone else can just retrieve it or come back to the video and hit pause and read it. Anyways, take care, guys. Have a great night. Thank you.